This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in today's episode, we're going to be focusing on something that I've talked about before, but haven't experienced yet. But I had family in town, my mom, my brother, my nieces, and my nephews, and we experienced swingers at Mandalay Bay. So I know I've done an episode where I did Pop Stroke, which is at Town Square, but I really wanted to try swingers. They kind of came in at the same time, and they are like vastly different experiences. So I'll talk about good times to go, the prices, kind of what's involved in going to swingers, and a couple of the little news and notes going into that awesome experience. So that's coming up next. Our swingers episode, golf, coming up on Concierge Confidential. Okay, everybody, so let's go ahead and dive into our swingers episode. So swingers actually came in a couple months ago, and I saw a lot of heat. A lot of people were going to it, and I was really, curious to what it looked like. So just so everybody knows, swingers actually is where the old Light nightclub location used to be, which when you walk into the actual venue, it very much mirrors what the nightclub would like, where it looked like, especially if you know where the bar was, where the different, like the dance floor was. So it's actually a very large space. It's actually 2 floors, but really what you're mainly going to see when you go in is the main floor, which has a lot of the actual mini golf itself. So when we went, my brother's a big planner, so we were kind of like on my brother's timeline. So my brother booked it, and it was earlier in the day. So we went around 2 o'clock, which when you can do this, you can actually go online to their website, and you can actually book it in like 30-minute increments. So 12 o'clock, 12:30, so on and so forth. But once you're actually booking for that time, there isn't like an actual like time limit for you to be in there. So really you can do a couple courses more than once. You can do it just once if you want, but it's really up to you. So they do have a couple different packages that you're able to book when you go. So when you click, you can just add how many guests you want. And then once you do that, you go over and pick the date. Obviously, the dates that are going to be more expensive are going to be the weekends, so typically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and usually later in the evenings is when it will be more expensive. Also important to note that this is a sort of split experience. So if you are a family, so kids that are under the age of 21, can go from any time between 12 o'clock and 5 p.m. And then if you go after 6 o'clock, that is adults only. So 21 and over only at that point. They do have 3 courses, but really 2 are the ones that they use most of the time. So when they do that, really that is included in your price. Also, my brother did say that gratuity is included. I believe that is for the people that are on the floor, like the actual servers, because they do have servers that actually come to each hole or each side. But people still tend to tip like the bartenders and so on and so forth. And they do have food there as well. So with that being said, you can book online. You can also book family packages. You can book for 21 and over experiences. They do give you a wristband to note that you are 21, so they don't have to check your ID again, which is nice. And it's really fun. So once you get actually checked in and you go in, kind of lines you up sort of like the nightclub used to. But once you check in, they give you sort of your scorecard, and then you sort of go up the stairs, and then boom, you are now revealed into the whole experience. So the bar is going to be off to your right, which the bar is really phenomenal. It actually has really good TVs to watch any sports that you want to watch while you're in there. It's not a sports bar, but it is sort of a place that you can watch any of the big games. And then once you're actually inside, they do have a very large menu, really fantastic menu in terms of cocktails, really extensive. A lot of them are going to be much more fruity, a lot more fun drinks, so very bright. If you go on to Concierge Confidential _LV, our Instagram page, you'll be able to watch and see some of those drinks that we did record. I ended up being really boring, and I just got I think I just got an old fashioned, which not what this place is for. Don't do an old fashioned here. I would go here. I would try one of their really fun cocktails that they have on the menu. My brother ended up having who's trying to lay off of soda, so he ended up going with the Carnival Punch, which that one has coconut rum, Aperol, more rum, pineapple juice. Really is an alcoholic because he's all of this rum. Rum. That's a inside joke for my dad. But anyways, so this one is a lot of the drinks on this menu are going to range. So if you're looking for stuff that is like sangria, those are starting at $17. If you end up going with some of their classic cocktails, they're going for $22, $23 a cocktail. And then they also have the high roller cocktails, which we did not indulge in those, starting at $50. So just be wary when you're reading this. They also have frozen cocktails, which are really fun. The one that my mom ended up getting was the lime in the coconut Collins, which was absolutely fantastic looking. So the bartenders do know what they're doing here. They're really, really fantastic. So would highly recommend doing a cocktail while you're here, before, after, or during your round. So once you do that, you're going to end up going into the actual mini golf area. And the major difference between Swingers and Popstroke, which Popstroke, if you guys haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out. But Popstroke is much more professional, if you're looking at for that word, golfing experience. So that's a putting experience, but it's not mini golf. So, which I know sounds really stupid, but you're actually going like around these holes. They have breaks to them, and there's not as many sort of fun, like golf and stuff style holes to them. But once you go into Swingers, which I really appreciated, Swingers was great with that because I really loved all of the carnival style mini golf holes that they had, because you would sort of aim to shoot something and then you'd actually end up having it pop out in a certain area. And I think it was all done with really high quality stuff, which is really nice. Everything just feels a step above what you would get any place else, like a Fantastics or like a Golf and Stuff. It felt very Vegas-y, but very approachable because of the mini golf aspect to it. So a lot of the holes, each hole actually has 3 different areas you're shooting for. It's bronze, silver, and gold. And obviously, just like how the Olympics work, bronze leaves you with a not good shot. Silver is kind of in between, and then gold is essentially going to leave you with a hole-in-one. So I thought that was great. I actually loved that part of it, that it was actually a really fun, you're not really doing golf, you're really just trying to shoot for that spot, and it was really easy. So it was a really fun, every single hole was about the correct time it took to do each one. There wasn't a lot of waiting, which was really fun. I've been to Popstroke where you're constantly waiting for people to finish the hole in front of you. But with Swingers, it was really fun. My nephews, it was kind of annoying. My nephews ended up playing like a whole round, the next hole, before we were finished doing our round or our hole. So it actually is kind of a nicely sort of paced out program. So I really enjoy that. They also have really fun things just to do on the inside. It's really great for pictures if you want to go and specifically take photos. Everything's also is really well laid out in terms of where you can put your cocktails, where you can put your drinks, obviously. And everybody sort of like is there for a good time. And I think that's one of the best parts about going and doing Swingers with my family and my mom and my nephews, and we kind of got the whole spectrum of everybody. And whenever somebody would make a hole-in-one, regardless if they were 40 or if they were 11, they all did it the exact same way. Everybody just got super nuts knowing that they made it. My mom even made a hole-in-one, and it was the one that actually goes like, it was pretty legit. Little English on the ball at the end, and it was really sick. So really enjoyed that. So, and it's really like really well timed out. Like it actually took us about, I would say about 30 to 45 minutes to do one, like the front 9 essentially. And then you would take a break, you'd go back up, and then you'd have a drink, hang out. Maybe you can eat something. And then from there, then you can go and do the second 9 that they have on the other side. So it's also really cool because when you get to the end of the first 9, so you're on the 9th hole, they do have where you can, if you make a hole-in-one, you actually get to spin a wheel and you get to have like a free experience. None of us were able to make a hole-in-one, and it is monitored, so you can't sort of lie, which is, adds to the pressure. And with that, that's where you can get like a free cocktail or a free appetizer or something like that. So they tend to do a lot. It's very much like a I don't want to say Chuck and Cheese, but something like that. So it's like they have pizzas. It's very much a step above. I don't want to say it's Chuck and Cheese. I would say that it's definitely going to be much more of a like tavern style menu. So I'm talking pizzas, wings, chicken fingers, very, very approachable. And it's very open. So essentially you can go sit anywhere you like. There's not really going to be like a seating area. They do have just waiters and waitresses walking around. Same thing on the golf course itself. They do typically have servers that walk around. Most people didn't utilize the servers. I think I asked her for a drink once, but you get through those pretty quickly. So it's actually a very quick experience in terms of the drinking thing. So I think it worked out fine. So that is just the downstairs area. So really, once you get to the end, they actually, when you exit, you do actually come up to a little area where you can take pictures, which the kids really love. So that was really fantastic. But with that being said, that's a good time to sort of either leave or tend to like to hang out. But the cool thing with us is that we ended up going up to the top floor, which on the top floor, they actually have all these other carnival games, which operate on a like kind of a card like you would get from GameWorks is old school. So Dave & Buster's. So essentially you load it up onto a card and they have a couple different games that you can play with each other and really high quality prize wall. Lots of good stuff. They have golf towels. They have teddy bears. They have shot glasses. Honestly, they all look very nice. So that's actually kind of a fun thing is that those are really fun things to do after the event. But again, also really nice things to take home with you, not just junk. They don't have silly things in there. They're actually really well done stuff. So they have like a racing game where you actually throw the balls and it goes into the wheel or goes into the hole and it moves the balls. It's actually fantastic. What's cool with us is that we got up there and we're surveying the situation. And then I see my brother who's about to buy $200 worth of tokens because that's the way that he rolls. But we had people come up to us that said, you can use these. They have like 1 million tickets on them or 1 million, credits. Go nuts. So don't tell my nephews that, to go nuts because they will. And they ended up playing every single game available and were able to take home, I think, a teddy bear and something else. Can't remember. Not important, but they were able to take something home with them. But we did see when you get to the second level that they actually did have another course on the very far side. The only shitty thing was that it was actually closed off to everybody, and it was not being used. I think that place is probably used maybe later in the evening when it gets a little bit busier, but it was not open during the time that we were at Mandalay Bay. Also, a fun thing is that when we were going to Mandalay Bay, that my brother kept telling me like, oh, I don't know, I think it's the Aces, parade, which, they had just won the night before. UNLV was playing across the street. So just important for you guys to know. If you do park at Mandalay Bay does charge for parking, and it is, I believe, $20 or $25 per person. Per car. And I think that's like a daily rate. I think $25 daily. But the cool thing is, if you park at the parking garage, when you come down, the first thing you see is swingers. So a little bit worth it. It's nice. So just keep that in mind when you guys visit. But going back to it, so the reason that I would recommend going to Swingers over Popstroke, I think it's just more fun. I think it's like way less stakes when you go there. I think people want to beat people when they go to Popstroke, but and it's also like outdoors. All the Popstrokes I know are outside, so it's cool like when you get like nice weather like in October like we are now, which is fantastic. But when you're here like in July, I wouldn't recommend it. Also, much more expensive to play at Popstroke. I'll actually look it up, but for the price for Swingers, essentially, I think I said it at the beginning, the prices will start for adults around $30, and then depending on the time of day, it'll go up to $35. So you just kind of have to, work out which day, what time you're going. But kids, I believe, is $18. So it's not bad, especially if you're going as like a family. So I'm just pulling up Popstroke so I can actually just tell everybody what the difference in prices are. So let's plan an event. Let's do it. So also Popstroke, just so you guys know where Popstroke is. Popstroke is at Town Square, which is south of the Las Vegas Strip. And their prices are Haha, this is what happens. See, I said it was cheaper and then it's not. It's actually $35 for a day pass. So this actually might be better value, but just to let everybody know, I've done this before. So I've done PopStroke and it said it's $35 for a day pass. I've met a lot of people that literally just do, of the 18 holes, they will do one side and one side only. They end up not doing the other side. So it can be quite a long day if you end up going there. Just keep that in mind if you are like trying to plan out the days. I would recommend, my goodness, because I do too. I would recommend Swingers over PopStroke, especially if you're trying to have a fun night out. This is a place that I'd recommend. Do it, book it online. I would recommend doing I would recommend doing Swingers if you came to Vegas. So just a little bonus, just because I was here with my nieces and nephews. We do all the nieces and nephews things. Again, sorry, nephews, not my nieces. I just get, I'm trained to say both of them to treat them equally because I love them. So we ended up doing not art museum. We ended up doing the Museum of Illusions, which is over at the area between the Cosmopolitan and the Aria. This is a great thing to do, especially if you have kids who love to take pictures, because it's a very interactive experience. Also note that the Art Museum and the Museum of Illusions are not the same thing. We started walking in, and then it was actually my mom's idea to do one of these two museums, and she didn't know the difference. Like, I didn't know the difference. And I sort of stopped and said, I think these are two different places. We looked really quickly. The Art Museum, I would say, is definitely for much older adults. When I say much older, I mean like people who are like in their 20s, 20s, 30s, 40s, just because it's a much more chill experience. It has these big giant screens. They all sort of change and they move like with the ocean. It's really, really cool. But I don't know how much kids would like that, like an 11-year-old and... Mom, how old is he? 8-year-old. Thank you. My mom's in the room, so she's like feeding me all this information. So anyways, we ended up doing the Museum of Illusions, Museum of Illusion, and it's really fun. Make sure you go with a local because you're able to get a discount, which is fantastic. I think it ended up becoming like $30 instead of being, 38 or 40. So not bad. But once you do go in, they do actually give you like an example. You take like a really fun like upside down picture, which is fun. And then there are people there to sort of maneuver you in the right direction. But it's very much at your own pace. You can go front, backwards, no big deal. You can read a lot of the stuff on the walls if you're really interested in a lot of the illusion sort of tricks. We were with children, which meant reading was not mandatory, which I think I was not in the reading mood either. So I just want to look at some cool stuff. And as you go through, they have all these crazy rooms. You're able to take really fun photos. They're really good at explaining like where to stand, which is important. I also think a lot of people are very communal there. So if you were somebody who went alone, because I am somebody who usually goes to a lot of things alone, this would actually be a really hard thing to do. But with the people who actually went, a lot of people are very helpful in sort of taking pictures of you if you wanted to, and helping you out. So don't be afraid to go by yourself, because I think it could be still a really fun experience. But I was excited that I was there with my nieces and nephews. Oh my goodness, my nephews, just to be able to do all the fun different little rooms, which I think they really enjoyed. So I would highly recommend this for kids, especially kids who are like, I would say, 7 or above, kids who are able to sort of interact and sort of like look at these pictures and see sort of the big unique differences on the inside. So would highly recommend doing that. We ended up doing a really crazy one. So we actually ended up going into this like sort of tunnel. And then it was sort of an optical illusion because it was sort of like rotating on this catwalk, and as you were walking it felt like you were like in an earthquake and you were going to fall over, and you were obviously standing still, but thought that was awesome. But really great photos, would highly recommend for kids. It was just the right amount of time. Some of the photos work out and some of them don't. I didn't get some of these pictures that they were showing us, but hey, nice try. Spend more time there if you really want to experience that. But I would say this is great for families. It's just the right amount of time that it takes. It took about 45 minutes to do the whole thing. I don't think it touched an hour. They have a gift shop that has lots of fun junk in it, but really fun because they actually do have an area where you can, because you get this like QR code and you go through all these photos and they will actually send these photos to you through your email, which is nice. Or you can be like a psycho person like my mom and my brother who wanted printed out versions because they are 75 years old. So just keep that in mind as you go to one of these Museum of Illusions. But yeah, it was just the right amount of time. I don't think I would have done it by myself, but I was glad that they were here because it was fun to do with them. With that being said, we ended up walking. It was really funny. We ended up walking across the street over to the Paris from that area. And can we just talk about, now we're kind of departing sort of like the experiential part of the podcast where I review all these places. Can we get the escalator situation figured out? We went to one area, and like this is the thing is when people come to Vegas with me, I know how to get places. And some places I cannot physically move. Like it is there. That's where it's going to be. And I can't change the geography of the Las Vegas Strip, even though I would love to. But we go over to the area at Planet Hollywood that has 2 escalators going both directions, and both of them are shut down. This is not a fun time when you have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old in your group. Your mom who doesn't like to go downstairs. So this was not a good experience. Vegas, if you are listening to me, fix our escalator problem. It is a problem. Not great. So we got down, a lot of people. Honestly, guys, I don't know how anybody walks on the Strip anymore. It's just so many people walking on the Strip. If you want to do it once. I would say do it like on a weekday, maybe not like a Saturday at 8 o'clock. Call me bougie, but it's not my thing. I just don't like it. Too many people. Can't handle it. Just take an Uber or a Zoom. Those Zoom things are sick, by the way. If you ever do go see them out in town, they're always empty. Do it. I think they only work from Resorts World down, but I think those things are awesome. So I would highly recommend doing that instead of walking down the entire part of the Strip. But again, that's just me. But yeah, so I do want to do an episode though, just kind of sort of like bringing this back around. I do want to do an episode like best places to your best chance to see lots of women. That's always a good episode. We'll do one to meet men, but in Vegas, that's like go anywhere, like throw a rock and you'll find one. But really, you got to find the hot spots. You got to find like, the fishing holes where you find like the most women in town. It was crazy. We ended up walking to Paris, and we're going to give one away here. Like any Vanderplump thing, just go sit there. That's a good place to start. But no, it was great seeing Vegas like super busy. So whoever said Vegas was dead did not come to Las Vegas on a Saturday at the Paris Hotel because that place was popping. Great cafe, by the way. Last thing, this kind of became like the family version of the Trip podcast. But my brother came to Vegas because he watched his kid play in state, go Max, and they drove to Vegas, and they stayed at Red Rock Resort, and they ended up the reason they wanted to stay there is because they asked my nephew, like, hey, do you want to go to the play place? I forget the name of it. Do you want to go to the play place thing? Kids Quest, that's what it is. Do you want to go to the Kids Quest at Resorts World, at Red Rock, or stay at Brian's apartment, which, new apartment, very excited about it. And I was like ready to share it with people. And he said, wherever Kids Quest is, that's where I want to stay. And they stayed there. And what I love about my nephew is very honest. So they stayed at a hotel like in Phoenix, which let's just say the accommodations were not the same as they are in Las Vegas. And he looked at my brother and said, "This looks like a hospital." And they said this. He says 2 stars, 2 stars, and always think that's funny. Nobody judges accommodations better than my youngest nephew. he knows a thing or two. And then when he got to Red Rock, glowing things to say about Red Rock and the Kids Quest. Loved it. Free Slurpees. Just charge it. And then they get to the room, and I asked him, what did you think about this place? And he said, 5 stars. 5 stars. So there you go, Red Rock. You get a glowing recommendation from an 8-year-old. Good for you. Also, my brother, glowing reviews because he went to the High Limit and hit a couple, what do you call them? Top dollars, which he's very excited about. So with that being said, guys, thanks so much for listening to the family episode of Concierge Confidential. But hopefully you guys stay tuned, just because in our next episode, we're going to be reviewing The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. Yes, we finally did it. We saw concerts there. And then on a random Monday, we said, let's go check out The Wizard of Oz. So we skipped our way over to the Venetian and then on the way to the Sphere. But with that being said, I forgot to mention, we are going to have a video up for Swingers, so make sure you check us out on ConcertsConfidential_LV or TikTok at Keys to Vegas if you want to watch. We haven't done a video in a while, but we said, you know what? We got to do one because my nephews told me to, because that is the rules. So we will be having that out the same time as this podcast, so make sure you check us out on all the socials. Again, my personal one's Brian_Ortega26 if you want to see what we're doing there. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you see me out in town, come up and say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.